Hi everyone, today is the launch date of this new product coming from Montech known as the HyperFlow ARGB. And yes, they have joined the PC community to offer you with this Liquid AIO. As you guys have known that Montech is well known for its quality and budget case. And how does this Liquid AIO fare? Well, let's find out. But before I begin, I'd like to thank Montech to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys. This Liquid AIO has two colors, which is white or black, and both colors have the size of 240 and 360. Just to show you the outlook of the white, as you can see, everything is in white. Then the fans, the radiator, and the fin stack. Forgot to mention that the logo is on both sides. And as for the black, now what I have with me is the 360 variant. See, it's everything black, just the opposite of the white. Let me just take off this fans over here, which I'll talk about it later. Now as for the structure of the whole unit, this is plastic. In fact, this is actually where the ARGB is. Then followed by very nice braided holes, as you can see. And the buckle, right, as mentioned to you, are chrome. Same goes to the radiator end. The whole radiator, in fact, is made of aluminium. And these are the pin stack, how it looks like. And as for the logo, right, for the black variant, it's slightly different, whereby you can hardly see the logo when you place in your case, which is also imprint on the other side. For the measurements of the unit, the width of the 360 variant, this is at 397mm, and if you to purchase the 240 variant, the width will be at 277mm. Now, be it the 240 variant or the 360 variant, the width of the radiator is at 120mm. And as for the thickness of the radiator, it's at 27mm. Now, if you do piece up the fans, in fact, the fans has a very unique thickness of 28mm. So when you place the fan together with the radiator, the thickness is at 55mm. The whole structure of the radiator is aluminium, including the fin stack, and the fins is at 20 fins per inch. It has a very nice braided hose, as mentioned to you, and this is of a length of 400mm. Coming to the pump unit, is in fact a square block, and the design is in fact of a gemstone, resemblance of a gemstone. And the measurements of the pump, be it from here to here, from the top to the bottom, is at 68.8mm. The thickness of the pump, starting from the cold plate all the way to the top, is at 53mm. The pump block does come with two cables, which has one end, this is meant for your pump, which is a 4-pin PWM connector, and the other is the 3-pin 5V ARGB connector, which is meant for your ARGB lightings on the pump block. Now, this pump block is pre-installed, or should I say pre-placed, as you can see, a very huge block with the pre-placed thermal paste. So at all times, right, make sure that this cap is on when you're not mounting it. Besides this, the specification of this pump is at 3100 RPM and is drawing at a power of 0.3 ampere. As for the ARGB LEDs, it's drawing at a 0.45 ampere. These are the Montech Metal Pro 12 ARGB fans, which are pre-installed to the radiator when you purchase the unit. Just to take a look at the design, this is the front where you have the frame, where this is where the air draws in. This is the rear where the air pushes through. The design of the, or should I say the structure, is very sturdy. It doesn't flex at all, and it's rock solid. And it does have anti-vibration grommets on both sides, and these are removable. Neat touch. As for the blade itself, this is ARGB and it's of a 9-blader, and if you can see on the blade itself, it has this cuttings. This is to assist more air to scoop and to push to your radiator. Nice touch. Now, speaking of which, right, you guys might worry that, hey, this is actually on the radiator, and if let's say I want the whole PC built with this fans, are you able to purchase it at a separate unit? Yes, you are. In fact, Montech did intend to sell this as a separate fan. So if you want to unify your whole build, be it the radiator fans or the case fans, right, you can purchase that. Now, speaking about the specs of this fans over here, as you can see, the fan is rated at 0.18 ampere, which is drawing to rotate the blades, and it has a minimum 500 rpm all the way to 2200 rpm. And for the ARGB lightings over here, right, the LED will draw up to 0.39 ampere. These are 120mm fans with thickness of 28mm, and it's running off fluid dynamic bearing. Now, as mentioned to you, Montech did intend to sell this fans separately, and this is just my take. If you have friends that have white case and you purchase the white version, right, probably you can talk to him to exchange this rubber grommets, since it's removable. Just to show you, see, it creates some life to your build. I mean, if you fancy some contrast, there is. And another thing about Montech, they have done the correct thing. In fact, the first time when they do this, right, they did it right. That is to have these cables to be short and to be able to daisy chain. And they made use of unique 7-pin socket and 7-pin plugs, where this plug contains the 4-pin PWM for your fan blade and the ARGB signal. So when you clip them on, right, see, it's so neat and tidy. You don't even have to cable manage them. And when you're placed in the case itself, right, probably this cable will be at the back and this is the front of the case. It's hidden and you don't have to worry about the cable mess. And at the end, right, they do provide you with an extension, and this extension will speed up 2 connectors, which I will show you. Okay, let me just connect here. See, one which is controlling the RPM of your fans. This is a 4-pin PWM fan connector, and the other one, which is a 3-pin 5V ARGB connector, which is to be connected to your motherboard and to use the motherboard ARGB utility to control the ARGB effects. Or if you have a ARGB controller, you can plug it to here too. It's very straightforward. And besides this, right, I would like to talk about how defined or how refined they have actually done with the mounting and such. Not only this, they have provided, which are the pre-installed radiator screws, right? In fact, these fans are pre-installed. All these screws are stainless steel. Nice touch. I will congrats Montech. They have done it right at the first time on the daisy chain. Okay, this is their first time doing an AIO, which is great, which a lot of us hate about the cable mess. And second thing, they have thought about the radiator being rust and such. I have witnessed some other radiators that does not provide stainless steel screws, and as time goes by, right, especially in hot and humid countries, this radiator screws will rust if it's not stainless steel, and that will impact the whole radiator. These are the accessories that come with this unit, and it's been packed nicely with this Ziploc bag. Besides these accessories, it does come with a instruction manual to show you the quantity of the accessories and the instruction to mount on AMD and Intel. Starting from my left, this is the extension cable, whereby this end here is plugged to your daisy chain radiator fans, and on the other end, which is split, one which is to control the RPM of your fans, which comes with a 4-pin PWM fan connector, and the other is to control the ARGB effects on your radiator fans, which is a 3-pin 5V ARGB connector. You'll be provided with 4 retention boards. These are meant for you to mount your block to your processor. At this top section, this is the bracket where you need to mount on your block. This is meant for your AMD platform. I will show you how this is being done when I guide you through on how to mount the block and to fit to your AMD platform. Next will be a bracket again for your block, which is meant for your Intel. These are the back plate that will be needed in Intel platform, where at the top, this is meant for 11XX socket. At the bottom, this is for the 1700 socket. 3 bags of standoff, and they are meant for Intel. This bag, which is meant for the LGA 2011. This is meant for the LGA 115X or the 1200, which is your Gen 8 all the way to Gen 11. And this stand mounts are for your Generation 12 all the way to Generation 14, which is the 1700. A bag of short screws. This is meant for you to mount your radiator to your case. A bag that contains a tube of thermal paste, spatula, and this sticker here is in fact a template for you to paste to your block while applying the thermal paste with the spatula, right? As you can see, there are holes over here, so it does gives you a pattern of where you want to do your thermal paste. But anyway, the block itself is with pre-paste, so this is the extra touch that what Montech have provided you in case you remove the block which has the pre-thermal paste, right? You need to clean it and to apply to probably another processor, or you have changed or upgrade the processor. Besides this, you're provided with this tube holders. If you're purchasing a black color Liquid AIO, you will have this. If you're purchasing a white Liquid AIO, you will have the white ones. And this is a tool for you to fasten your Intel standoff to the motherboard. Now, all these accessories that you see over here, including the instructions and such, this is in the black Liquid AIO. And if you purchase the white HyperFlow, right, all will be in black except for the tube holders. To mount the pump block on the IHS or the processor, there's some preparation you will need to do. But before I do so, just to show you the tube holders, as you can see, it's very flexible, so you will just lock in place. Now, as mentioned to you, you will need to prepare, and this happened that this is a AM5 platform. It does support AM4 too. The locking mechanism is of the same. First thing you need to do is just to prepare the AMD bracket with these clips, and you will need mounting bolt, which are provided. You only need 2. First, place the clip the thread over here, right, going through the bracket, and hold this clip on the bracket with your mounting bolt. Now for the mounting bolt, you don't have to screw all the way, just a few rounds. I would say 3 rounds. Same goes to the other side. Okay, if you don't use the bolt, right, say this is going to fall off. And when you're mounting the clip, make sure it's of this direction. That gives you a U shape on both ends. Do not place this way, right? If you're going to place it this way, right, on both ends, you will not be able to clip on to the mounting bracket on the motherboard. So make sure at all times it's this way, giving you a U shape. And looking this way, it's like that. Okay. Again, fasten the, hold the clip to the bracket so that it will not fall off. This is good enough. Next, on the block itself, remove off this protective plastic. And please note, when you purchase this unit new, there will be a pre-paste thermal paste on the cold plate, so do not touch it. And this sheet over here, right, doesn't come with this. It's just that for illustration purposes right now, I'm just protecting the cold plate because it's without thermal paste. First thing to do, remove off this bracket. This bracket is meant for Intel, which I'll show you later. Mount this AMD bracket, and this is the direction that you should do, as they are guiding slot over here, as you can see. And make sure to mount it this way and not the other way. If you're going to mount the other way, which is from the back, you can't, cause the frame, right? Okay, let me just slot this in. See, the frame over here will hit your swivel butt over here. Okay, so make sure it's done the other direction, and the bolt facing downwards when you have your cold plate facing you, okay, and not this way. All right, once you have slotted in, do not touch the cold plate where you have the thermal paste. Put it one side. Use alcohol to clean your IHS or your processor. Wipe it dry, wipe it clean. Once that's done, now you'll be able to apply the block to the processor. Let me zoom in. So first thing you need to do is, as you can see the two clips over here, these are to be mounted to the clip on your motherboard. So I'll do it one side first, which is the inside. Once you clip it in place, right, hold the block, go to the other side, and to clip it on. It will take a bit of adjustment. See, I'm still holding on to the block, as in like not pushing the block down, but to hold it up, so that the thermal paste, right, will not smudge while you are clipping the two clips. Once you have done this, right, use a screwdriver and to screw down the points. Okay, do it alternately. Till you screw it to a point whereby your retention bolt is unable to move, but don't stop there. There is a trick to it. Okay, assuming right now I have done with the retention bolt. Okay, let me just screw in all the way. You will feel there's a once you feel there's a resistance, stop there. And for me, right, there is a trick whereby I know the AMD pin is very sensitive. So if too much pressure, right, this will cause the system not able to boot. So in order to counter attack that issues, I would do is, since right now both bolts are at its most end, because I can't screw anymore, what I'll do is I will anti-clockwise as in like unscrew it 1/4 back. And the reason for this, right, I'm allowing the retention board, the spring, to catch the bracket to the motherboard bracket. So you have not too much force on mounting the block to your IHS, which I mentioned to you, right? If too much pressure, it causes the system not able to boot based on the pressure that you have pressed the processor to your motherboard. Next, to handle all these cables, this is from the pump itself. There are two connectors. One is the ARGB, the other one is the pump RPM. And on the fan side, you also have two more cables, which is for the fan RPM and the ARGB connector. So I'll start out with the pump RPM. Make sure to connect this. Okay, let me just zoom out. Make sure to connect this to your motherboard pump connector. On ASO motherboard will be AIO pump. On MSI will be pump fan. On others will be either water pump and such. Just be very sure to plug this to the water pump header and not CPU fan header, CPU op header, or even the system fan header. Because the pump header will have much more higher amperage to provide to your pump. That's the reason why. So I know that for MSI, right, this is the pump header. I will just plug it over here and put it one side. Next will be your fan header for your radiator fans. This, make sure you plug it to CPU fan. And if you are using a ASUS motherboard and you wanted to do push-pull configuration, right, plug it to CPU fan and to CPU out. So I know that this MSI, the CPU fan is over here. I'll just clip it over here. Followed by the ARGB connector, which is this. The fan itself for the ARGB effect on the fans. And for the pump, the ARGB for this. You can choose two options. One is to make use of one ARGB header on your motherboard, or if your motherboard only comes with one ARGB connector, right, you can daisy chain the fan ARGB connector to your pump ARGB header. Once that's done, right, use this end, plug it to the ARGB header of your motherboard. So this will allow you to control the ARGB on both your pump and your fan blades. But when you're doing this, right, when you cycle the ARGB effects using your motherboard utility, all this ARGB will be of the same effect. You can't separate them. If you want to separate them, make sure your motherboard have two ARGB header, whereby you can split this. Okay, this is for the pump, this is for the fan. The fan connect to the ARGB connector, and followed by this to another ARGB connector. So when you do this, right, both you're able to control using the motherboard utility, having different ARGB effects. This is a bonus tip where I like to share with everyone how I get good thermal results with the first go when I mount the block. As some of you have actually asked me this question. Now, as you can see earlier on when I illustrate, I was holding the block and it's, holding upwards instead of pushing it downwards. Now, this only applies on AMD. What I did is, if you notice, right, I have rest my palm on the motherboard. Make sure that your motherboard is placed on a flat surface, be it whether it's outside the case or inside the case. When you're resting your palm, right, you have a good grip to hold your block, which is holding upwards as in like not pushing in. With this, right, you won't wiggle, see? So imagine that you're holding the block while not having a good anchor point, and you wiggle and you start to, adjust. See, as you adjust, your palm gesture will follow your screwing. So that will cause irregular balance on pressure. So it's best, as mentioned to you, place your palm on your motherboard. You don't have to, put a lot of force. It's just anchor it to have a good foundation pillar. Hold on to the block. See, it doesn't wiggle. So when I screw, right, if you take note, my block is still holding upwards, and at this position, it's locked in place. And from there, you can screw. See, I am not moving the block at all. So when you screw it all in, right, okay, let me just fast forward. You will have a very even pressure. See? So once it's done, right, then you release off. This will have either 98% or 99% good thermal results. And to avoid from unable to have your system boot up, right, due to the fact that the tension of your block to your processor is too much, based on the fact that you have screwed all the way to the end where it stops. See, right now it stops. I can't screw in anymore. Release the screw anti-clockwise by 1/4 on both ends. So when you're doing this, right, you're releasing the pressure between the block to the IHS or the processor, which is too much. Instead, making use of the retention spring on the retention bolt to press the bracket to your processor. For Intel platform, you will need to prepare the backplate depending on what kind of generation Intel processor you're using. For this, I'm using a 13th generation, so I'll be using the 1700 socket. Anything else like the generation 8 and so, right, you'll be using the 11XX bracket. And you will need the standoffs to hold this back plate, which these are for the generation 13 or 1700 socket, and of course your mounting board, which you need 4 in total. First thing you do, flip the motherboard to the back, where you expose these 4 holes over here. Align the back plate, all these holes, to the hole over here. Oh, make sure that you remove off the sticker over here. So this will stick the whole back plate when you align to the holes to the back. But for now, I won't be using it, just an illustration only. So when you align it, and once this is taped to the back of the motherboard, you can flip your motherboard. And to hold the back plate securely, make use of the standoffs, which total of 4. And when you're mounting the standoff, make sure that the shorter end, as you can see over here, okay, is facing downwards and not having the longer end downwards. If you place the longer end downwards, right, it's incorrect. So make sure it's the shorter end facing downwards. So let me just secure 2 in place before I let go the motherboard, as I have not removed off the tape. That's the reason why I'm holding on to the motherboard. So once you have this in place, right, okay, now I can leave it down. Once you have all the standoffs mounted to the motherboard to hold the backplate even further, you don't have to tighten too much. Once you stop, you can just, when you screw, it stops, you can stop there. And to secure it even more, make use of this tool that comes with the accessory package. This is meant for you to tighten the standoffs. Don't have to do too hard, just hand tighten, and this will be locked in place. Next will be your block. Now, as for your block, same thing, remove all this plastic cover, and when you purchase this AIO, right, there will be pre-paste over here, so do not touch it. And for the bracket, you don't have to fiddle with it, it's already pre-installed. So all is needed, use alcohol, clean the IHS, wipe it clean. Once done, you can apply the whole block, and aligning all these holes over here, right, to the standoffs. Intel is slightly different from AMD mounting, as how I do it 100%, or should I say 98 or 99% with good thermal results. I will align the holes first, using both hands, press the block, not too much, wiggle a bit, okay, up, down, left, right, hold on to the block. Not too much pressure. Why I'm wiggling is because I wanted the spread of the paste, right, to spread evenly on the cold plate when it's touching the processor. So once you've done this, right, make use of your retention board, screw it down. And based on feeling, right, in fact, so long as the screw holds on it and it doesn't move and it doesn't, you know, push all the way down, you don't have to fully tighten it. It's just at a stoppage. See, done. Then I'll do the other one at the other end, and once this is done, right, see, it's true feeling. I'll do the two other ends at each side. Now, why am I mounting it differently for AMD? Because there are 4 anchor points. So when you pressure it down, right, it will be in place. You don't really have to rest your palm and to hold on it. No, not at all. So basically, just pressing this down. Before you press down, you just wiggle. Have the spread to spread evenly across your cold plate and your processor, and to press it down, and to mount the retention board. That's all is needed. And again, it's true feeling. I didn't bolt it all the way down, just where it stops. Then I'll make use of the screwdriver to screw diagonally on the bolt. Okay, this is done, whereby when I bolt all this diagonally where the bolt stops and I can't screw any further, again the same trick. I want to make use of the retention spring to press the block, or should I say the bracket, to your IHS, and not giving too much pressure. I will unscrew it by 1/4 to each end. And once this is done, I will then tackle with the connection point of the fans, which has the fan connector and the ARGB connector. Same goes to the pump. First off, with the pump connector, as I mentioned to you, make sure to plug this pump to your motherboard header that says AIO pump, pump fan or water pump, because those headers are the ones that provide higher amperage, or should I say sufficient amperage to drive your pump. So I know that for ASUS, right, there's AIO/pump. I'll plug it over here for the pump. Then next will be the fan connector, or should I say the 4-pin connector to the CPU fan. Now, if you are doing push-pull configuration on the radiator for ASUS, you can plug it on CPU fan and the CPU op. And the CPU op will follow the fan curve of the CPU fan. So for this, right, I'm not doing push-pull, just a push configuration. I'll just plug it to the CPU fan. Done. And as for the ARGB, same thing as how I apply on the AMD, whereby you want to control your lightings of the fans and the pump to have all synchronized. You can just daisy chain the fan ARGB to your pump ARGB, and at the end over here, right, just plug it to your ARGB connector, and make sure it's 3-pin 5V, not the 4-pin 12V. So with this, right, you will be able to control the ARGB, synchronizing the pump and the fan. If you want it to do it separate, as like having different colors of the front of the pump from your fans, just split the cables individually, the fan ARGB to your motherboard ARGB header, and the pump to another ARGB header if your motherboard has another ARGB connector. Just to show you the ARGB on the block and the fans, as you can see, is very vibrant. They are all diffused very nicely, and you can toggle the patterns. Right now it's cycling through the colors, as you can see. And best part is that I like this subtle Montech logo, which does light up against the ARGB effect. And I can do effects like rainbow, see, with all the effects. Very nice. And it's not very glaring when you look at it. Nicely done. This is how I conduct the test, whereby it's an open bench. I have all the ARGB turned on, inclusive of the pump and the fans on the radiator. I've placed the fan this way as in like to push air from the back through the radiator and to sweep off some of the warm air from the motherboard. And rest assured, the fans over here, right, they are of ARGB littered. See? Where you see now, this is the Intel platform where I use the pre-prepared, or should I say pre-thermal paste of this AIO. I have another unit which I've already done testing on the AMD. So this is my another unit, so that having the pre-paste thermal paste on both Intel and on AMD. And as for the sound itself, right now I'll just keep my mouth shut. As you can see, the microphone is away from the pump, and from away the radiator fans is about 1 feet. And this is how it sounds like when it's at idle. Right now I'm just going to run Cinebench, and this is how it sounds like. This is back to idle. So as you can see, the pump is running straight 3100 RPM, and the fans at idle, right, is around 500 to 600, around there. But when I ramp up the RPM, or should I say the Cinebench, right, the pump stays at 3100 as usual. It's just at the fan. Let's listen to it again. This is at idle, and this is where I ramped the Cinebench. As for the thermal results, I am shocked with both results, be it AMD or Intel. Starting off with the AMD, I'm making use of Cinebench, running the benchmark to trigger the usage to 100%. And these are the status that you can see using firmware. Now, these are the system spec that I'm using, which is the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X on the MSI B650M motor. And there are no discrete graphic card, as I'm trying to trigger the built-in GPU so that it not only stress on the load of the processor, but also stressing the integrated GPU. And these are the settings that I've done on the UEFI of this motherboard, which has a PPT of 192, TDC of 150, and the EDC of 170, and having a B core offset of minus 0.05 volt. As this is the beginning of the start, when I run, okay, as you can see, it triggers. This is at the start of the temperature. So if I were to pull to the last 2 minutes or so, okay, let me see where this is. Okay, this is Intel. Now, around this mark, which is around the 2 minute mark, take a look at the temperature, 83 degrees Celsius, and it's polling almost near the PPT rate, which is 190 or so. And the clock speed, my goodness, you can hover around 5.1 gig And you can see here, right, in fact, it's 5.2 gig for all the cores, except for some cores. And the temperature on the motherboard and the rest, like the DDR5 and the M.2s, fantastic. It doesn't go over 50 degrees Celsius, which is good. And looking at the pump, it is pumping at what is specified, which is 3,100 RPM, which goes above it, which is 3,200 RPM. And for the fans, right, which is 2,200 RPM, it is running that specs too. So I had this running, see, it's still running, and it's still hovering very well. And it triggered not more than 83 degrees Celsius on the Ryzen 7 950X. So right now, I'm just going to pull to the Intel. Okay, this is at the beginning. I'll let it run. Okay, as you can see the temperature. It can hold 5 gig over. Look at here. On the hardware info. Reason you have this average as 5.051 megahertz is based on the fact that I'm taking the average, as you can see here, average clock frequency, which reflected over here. But when you look at the P cores and the E cores, right, these are the actual frequency that's running. And I've set this i7 13700K on the ASUS ProArt Z790 board. Again, with no discrete graphic card. I wanted to stress on the processor together with the integrated graphic card, which I locked the power limit 1 and power limit 2 to 253 watt with a V-core offset of minus 0.05 volt again. So as mentioned, this is actually the beginning. Okay, it's starting off very good, 82 degrees Celsius and such. So when I pull it towards almost the end, okay, around here, look at it, max temperature 86 degrees Celsius. In fact, it's hovering around 84 to 86, and it still can sustain the clock frequency. As you can see on Cinebench, see, not too shabby, and the voltage drawn is about 240 max, which I've set to 253, which is pretty good. And the air pump, it is sustained at 3,100 RPM, which is above that. And the radiator fans, it is also meeting up the specs. And looking at all the temperature on the motherboard, the DDR5 and the M.2, it's not above 50 degrees Celsius, which is fantastic. See, it's still holding right now. I'm actually running the recordings that I've done. Fantastic. And mind you, I'm actually testing both this platform at a actual room temperature of 30 to 31 degrees Celsius consistently. And I'm testing this on the hot and humid country. I believe some of you are familiar with what you see right here. In fact, this was conducted on my previous content. If you guys missed that, you can click on my top right hand corner. It will take you to that video and to show you how I conduct the test on various Liquid AIO of various brand, but based on the 360 variant, be it on Intel or AMD. Now, when I mentioned to you earlier that I was shocked with Montech HyperFlow ARGB 360, I couldn't believe my own eyes as a night. This is their very first time to create an AIO, and it sits to the mid category. Take for example the AMD itself. See, look at the temperature, the frequency, the pump and such. It sits right below ASA Cube 360, which is on the blue category, which is pretty good. And another thing on Intel, same thing. Look at the ratings over here. It sits right below ASA again, which is on the mid tier. And on the previous video content, right, if you were to take note, like the geometrics on AMD, it couldn't make it. On Intel, you went to the top. But for this Montech HyperFlow ARGB, right, in fact, it's very consistent on both AMD and Intel platform. Good mounting mechanism, good pump, good fan rate, and such. When I first unboxed this unit and have a look, I was skeptic about its performance because the first thing I'll take a look is on the fans itself. As you can see that the blade, though it's actually 9-blader with special cut fins on each blade, but it's very short. Furthermore, when I look at the spec, it was at max 2100 RPM. Down there I'm thinking that will it have enough static pressure to cool the radiator? But my worries are gone once I've tested it, and I believe based on the fact that with the help of the thickness of the fan, which is at 28mm, it does have a very good channel. And for this short blades, right, with the blade patterns at a max RPM, in fact it went above the specs, which is 2200 RPM and above, which these are actually stated 2100. And it does scoop tons of air, and to cool the unit, I was quite surprised. And this is a 27mm thick radiator. I was okay with the pump. In fact, the pump is doing great, which is at 3100 RPM. It's just that I worry that will this fan cool down the radiator? It did. And on top of which, the diffusion on the blade itself, the ARGB effects are very vibrant. Fusion nicely. There are no LEDs that I can spot. Same goes to your, goes to the pump. And on top of which, things that Montech have put into details and put into heart, like the design of the butt, they deliberately break out and to have this chrome on the pump and also on the radiator. And on top of which, right, some might like the design, some might not like the design of the fans, whereby you'll find that this is too big with the logo. But when this spins, right, it doesn't, it doesn't really bothers me. In fact, it's a very nice kind of cut. And besides this, they have thought into consideration on the radiator screws, fan screws. These are all stainless steel and you will not rust, which is good. And a bonus point, as I show you that this anti-vibration grommets, you can remove them. And I hate those rubber grommets that stick onto the fan. As time goes by, right, it will just drop off. Else for this, right, you will just lock in place. See? And best part of all, this rubber grommets, if you are fancy to have contrast, right, probably you can get your friend who is actually purchasing a white build or a white AIO, that is this HyperFlow. You can just interchange with the rubber grommets just to bring up more design or contrast to your Liquid AIO. Now besides this, right, I noticed something between this Liquid AIO and another quality Liquid AIO. The braided holes are nicely done. Okay, I'm just going to expose to you which AIO, or should I say what AIO that's resemblant to this AIO. And the swivel points and the butt area, inclusive of this whole block, which I have taken off. This can be removed, but I'm not going to show you how. That will be on my next project, which I'm going to make use of this on my initial D on the Sky 2 GX case. Okay, which is similar locking mechanism as that quality AIO. Plus, I noticed that the daisy chain mechanism, right, it's almost similar. That is actually using a 6 PCIe pin, but this is using a 7-pole connector. And the fins, right, is identical. So having said this, right, all in all, this is a pretty good Liquid AIO and does perform as in like mid-tier, not really the high end, but consider that this is the first time Montech have produced such Liquid AIO. The first Liquid AIO is well done. And the Liquid AIO that I mentioned is similar, which is EK. I believe this is EK OEM. And I did check with Montech and they have confirmed, yes, this is EK OEM. And I believe that the durability rate will be very long lasting. So having all this factor, right, the thing about this Liquid AIO, right, is far more better than the rest that I've compared so far. The fan and pump is absolutely quiet. In fact, the first time when I use Montech products like the Metal 120 PWM fans, right, they are extremely quiet. That was the first time when I, got a shock. How can the fan be so quiet and yet it performs so well? Then the next fans, which is their case fan, the AX120 and the RX120, inclusive of the 140 and the AX and RX140, those are dead silent, and it does bring, adequate air to the case. Now with this, Metal Pro 12 ARGB, it shocked me even further. It not only performed, but it's dead silent. I've shown you the noise of this fans. Fantastic. So these are the things that I really enjoy what Montech have been doing, as they have lived up to their motto, the best value. In fact, they are really living up to that motto. The only downside that I do not like about this AIO, I'm so sorry to say, is this design over here. Okay, some look at it will feel that, oh my god, they should have done a better design. For my take, right, this can be improved. Hopefully that Montech will improve on the design. I would prefer to see this logo as the triangle looks like the pyramid instead of the labeling. And for this, right, I would suggest that probably not the whole block as ARGB. You can make it more elegant, as in like block off this area, okay, the frame, just to leave the ARGB lid on this and the logo. And at the top, right, it should be either, I would say, brushed aluminium finish or such. This will elevate the design, as in like it will look very gorgeous and elegant, as in having the AIO built on the elegant side, or should I say the executive side, which I intend to do something about this. And for the next build, right, you will see a drastic change of what I've done to the design itself. So this is the only thing that I dislike. Other than that, all the mechanism check out well. The daisy chain, the pump connector is pretty simple. No additional ARGB software is needed, just the basic motherboard utility or your ARGB controller to control the ARGB control. Well done, Montech. With this said, I'd like to thank Montech to have provided this unit. In fact, not only one, but three. The 240 variant and another set, based on the fact that I wanted to test the temperature based on the pre-paste on AMD and Intel. Do take note, the results that I show you, right, this is the pre-paste. Okay, it's not the paste that I applied or the thermal pad that I normally use. So thank you, Montech, to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys. And to those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.